Getting rich is the easiest thing you can ever achieve in life. Getting wealth is the simplest thing you can ever achieve in your life. All you just need the right mentality, the right insight, the right attitude, and the right knowledge to push you forward towards your financial freedom. And this is what I have to offer you. Now, the distance between the rich and the poor is not about how much the rich has that the poor does not have. It's not about their cash flow, how much they have that the poor does not have, how many cash flows the rich have that the poor does not have. No, that is not the distance between the rich and the poor. The distance between the rich and the poor is the understanding about wealth the rich has that the poor does not have. It's the financial knowledge the rich has that the poor does not have. So you get it. So if the rich is rich today, it's not because of the amount of money they have in their bank account. If you take that money in the rich bank account and give it to the poor, in a year time, that rich man will still be richer than that poor man you gave the rich man's money, because the poor does not have the financial knowledge, the financial insight to protect that wealth. So that is where managing wealth comes into play. So getting rich is even easier than managing riches. Getting wealthy is very easy than managing riches. It's just a simple trick, is to understand the simple knowledge. Previously, we talked about your mind is your wealth. How your mind can propel you to become rich. Think big, think rich, and think positive. That's all you need to start with first. Now, after you've thought big, after you've inculcated that attitude of thinking big, of thinking rich, the next thing to do is understanding the financial knowledge, the financial insight about wealth. Now, getting rich is just easy. It's either you're acquiring liabilities or you're acquiring assets. That's just the two things. It's either you're acquiring liabilities or you are acquiring assets. Now, what is liability and what is asset? First of all, let's talk about liability. Now, liability are those things, those services that take away money from your hand. It could be your rent that you pay to your landlord. It could be your car servicing. It could be your transportation. It could be your food. It could be your medical expenses. Those things that take away money from your hand, they are called liability. Now, what about the assets? When we talk about assets are those things that gives you money, that brings in cash flow. Those are what we call assets. So it's just simple. So in life, if you are acquiring liability, you are acquiring things that are going to be taking money out of your hands. So the basic truth is, assets gives you money inflow. Liability takes out money from you. So which is wise to do? So it's better you start acquiring assets that will be giving you money, that will be pushing money forward, cash flow forward in your life, instead of acquiring those things that will be taking money from you. These are the financial mistakes most youth make early in their life. They want to belong. They want to prove to the society that they can afford this, they can afford that, but they don't know that those things that they lost after, those things that they want now, they might not need them in the future. So at the tail end, those things become liability to them, because those things start draining money from them. Instead of acquiring liability, it is better for you to acquire assets that will be pushing money into your hand. Let's take this scenario for instance. If a man earns 1 million naira monthly, and at the end of the day, the man invested that money wisely into assets that will be giving money, that will be providing money of that will be providing financial assistance, money, bringing money, that asset will be bringing money into that man's life. You find out that at the end of the day, the man that acquired assets will be more richer than the man that acquired liability. Because if that same man in another scenario used that 1 million to acquire fancy clothes, fancy shoes, iPhones, and the rest, that 1 million will be gone. Those things that is fancying now will not be fancying to him tomorrow. Why? The one that invested that 1 million that is bringing in returns, revenue, that is bringing in money, cash flow to the other guy that invested it in assets, those assets will still remain in the future. So what am I trying to say here is that as a youth, you need to understand that it is better for you to acquire assets than for you to acquire liabilities. Liability take away money from your hands. Liability drain you of your income. Liability suffocates you when you need an urgent response in terms of your health issues can come urgently. You will not have money to solve it. But if you have asset that is bringing in money, you have this cash flow. So the basic truth is understanding assets and understanding liability. So as a youth, my advice for you is just whatever money you are making, whatever you are earning, have that mindset. What am I going to do to the money that I'm earning that will make this money bring in more money to me? That's assets. But if you don't have that mindset of this money that I have is too small, safe. I don't need to invest. I don't need to put it into any business I just need to use it to solve my immediate need. You are considering liability first before assets. So the rich, they always think about what they will do to their money that will bring them more money. They always think about acquiring assets. They push towards acquiring assets. They don't push towards liability. They don't go to the side of liability. They always push forward to assets, to acquire assets. Now, there are some things you might consider as assets, but they are actually liability to you at a particular stage in life. There are some things you might consider assets, don't get me wrong, but at that stage in your life, they become liability because you don't really need them. You don't really need them. For instance, maybe you have just 500,000 naira, and you know, because of the neighborhood effect, that the people around you are having iPhone, you want to go and get iPhone with that 500,000 naira, for example. And at the end of the day, the purpose of you getting that iPhone is not something productive. It's just to show to your neighbors and your friends and your associates that you got a new iPhone, 500,000 naira. That one, first, you've acquired a liability. You've acquired a liability because the purpose of you getting that iPhone is not productiveness. You are not getting that iPhone for job or for investment or for anything. You just want to show people that you can afford iPhone. But if somebody else that has the mind of investing in assets has that 500,000 naira and uses that 500,000 naira to set up a source of revenue, to set up a business, a cash flow for him, you find out that business, after a particular time, that business will be bringing returns, will be bringing money for that person that invested in that business. That business at that time to that person is an asset. It's an asset. Instead of you acquiring things just to satisfy the neighborhood, just to tell your neighbors, your friends that you can afford this thing, why don't you use that money for something better, for an investment, an asset, something that will be bringing returns to you? So today's lesson is all about understanding assets and liabilities. Assets and liabilities. Assets are those things that brings in return, that brings in money into your pocket, into your account, while liability are those things that take away money from you. So you better choose wisely as a youth. It's either you invest in assets or you waste your money in liability. For more content like this, please follow KK's Crypto and Digital Asset Management, your number one informative channel for wealth and youth development, and how to propel you toward a life of financial freedom. Thank you. Love you guys.